live on this Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us already. We have a special guest today, and he will be on with us shortly. But first of all, we thought we'd recap the weekend. And as always, I'm joined by the talent, the personality, and the looks of the show, Beef Stew.
How we doing, Christopher?
Well, I had a decent weekend myself. It was kind of fun. Actually, bowl good once in a while.
You did. You bowled very well. Your team put on a display for a little while, and then and you went over to the side of the building that I was stuck on for most of the day, and it made me feel a little bit better because your guys' scores came down, maybe not to my level, but at least they came down a little bit. And then I guess the best news of the whole weekend for you was when he went back to the high end for the stepladder, because my man Jim Stevens wasn't afraid of throwing a strike on that low side.
He had a couple.
Yeah. So we were bowling the Sasper over at Cowtown. It's kind of an interesting place. It's got 16 on each side. And the snack bar and the bar area is dead in the middle. So I quite like it because I kind of like its quirkiness and the fact that the lanes are a bit different lane to lane. And, you know, I didn't like it so much when I got stuck on the side that was lower scoring and Anthony was beating the living crap out of me in all of the brackets. My God, he's up.
Wow. Huh. He has Facebook, too. I didn't think there was anybody within 10 years of his age that had it. Morning. We also, Dino had his annual kickoff classic. I believe he had 84 teams or 83 teams. So that was pretty incredible. 5-man teams, tons of brackets, about 450, I think, the night that I bowled. I made my small donation to AJ Rice. He was the big winner that night. Although maybe the guys from Houston didn't do too badly because I hear they had a late night session in Plano that went quite well for them. So yeah, that was the weekend, I think. If you want to see the final, head over to Chris's Facebook page. He has a version of it. No commentary, but you can kind of see what was going on. And person, Stephanie Johnson, Stevens, we have Paul McCordick, Keith Lesko, myself, and Anthony Lavery Spar. So plenty of guys you see.
Mm-hmm.
An unexpected finish for sure. It was.
Mm-hmm. Quick fun story though. I was on the phone with Chris yesterday and I said, well bowled at the weekend. I mean, not as well bowled as Anthony, but well bowled. And Chris big time me. He said, I think you'll find I average more than Anthony. And then I said, oh, really? And he goes, yeah, I didn't believe it either. Anthony told me. Anthony managed to average I think he averaged like 239 with 380 the last two games. So that was quite entertaining on his part. But yeah, we've got a regional coming up this weekend in Fort Sill.
We do. 48 or 44 footer, and so pot games today will be on a 48-foot pattern
to kind of mimic. Yeah. Okay, so that's cool. I think me and Chris, we're going to put together a YouTube video breaking down our arsenal for what we're going to take. So I think that should be up on Wednesday or Thursday. So keep an eye out for that.
And then probably a pretty humorous follow-up one on Monday or Tuesday about how wrong it was. So
we can do the Colin Cowherd where Beef and Barnzy were wrong.
Well, with no further ado, our guest is on, and not only has bowling started there, but the internet is working as well. So we're about ready to go. This man, he was the PBA 2002-2003 Rookie of the Year. Followed that up the very following year, being the Harry Smith point leader on the tour. He's a two-time Team USA member. He's a two-time PBA titleist. The bro, Brad Angelo.
Hey guys, how you doing? Sorry about the delay.
Oh, no problem, Brad. Like I told you in the and on text, it just gave me more time to talk. We're all good.
Yeah, well, I don't think any of us need any more of that anytime soon, Stewie.
Yeah. So, how this is going to go, Brad? I think we're going to spend the first part of the show chatting about, your career on the lanes, some fun times with you and Chris, and then we're going to do a little segue into what's going on with the bowling center. All the hoops you've had to be running, jumping through the last few months, and maybe give people a little insight into everything being back up and running, if not in quite the way we all want it to be.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for asking me to be a part of this.
Oh, no problem. I mean, we've been keeping an eye out. You had a little show of your own running with EJ. You were doing your matches. They were very popular. I tuned in to get my bowling fix as well.
We're actually going to be starting our Wednesday shows again, starting next week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, with the shutdown and everything, it was just getting more and more difficult for people around here to even want to tune in. There wasn't much to talk about on the world of bowling around here. Mm-hmm. And then we decided to do those live matches with EJ, which I think ended up turning out to be pretty well. We raised almost $2,000 for our frontline workers. So we're going to start off our show next week with that presentation to the local hospitals in our respective cities here. So that was a pretty neat little deal we put together.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I enjoyed it. I know that, because the world's the way it is, whenever, even when me and Chris are posting some bowling, well, it's nice you can bowl. Well, what do you want from me? I mean, if I was you or EJ, I'd be like, yeah, it's nice you don't have to carry the debt of a bowling center that's not open. But, that's just the world we live in. So.
Well, it's been a rough go. I can tell you that, when the whole shutdown started the middle of March, originally everybody had said 2 weeks to slow the spread. And then 2 weeks into it, it was, well, we should do this for another 2 weeks. All right, now we're going to extend it to the end of May and see how things go. And it was one bad piece of news after another. Finally got the word 2 weeks ago that they were going to allow us to open. But there's so many restrictions, and it's so difficult to explain what every bowling center in the country has been through. It's not that easy being a proprietor to begin with, let alone having, the last 6 to 8 weeks of your league season and all of that revenue just be vanished and vaporized. And then not knowing what to be able to tell your league bowlers once August comes around and everybody wants to know, hey, what's happening? Are we going to bowl? What's going on with the leagues? We haven't been able to give them any answers really until last week. So we're starting our league meetings here. We had a couple league meetings already, and we're going to continue next week, and just trying to get an idea as to what leagues are going to want to do and what league bowling is going to look like. We're only allowed to use every other lane. So that poses its own challenges from a league bowling point of view. Supposedly, the New York State is allowing us to, if we put plastic in between every single lane, then they will allow us to use every single lane. But that's still up for debate as well. Trying to get some clarification on that and seeing how things are going to unfold. So it's been an emotional roller coaster for the last few weeks, to say the least.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's like I say, let's do that, because what I really want to do is I really want to chop this up into 2 shows for when we put it up on YouTube, so people who really want to understand the things that are going on can really just focus in on that section of it. And then the people who want to embrace the Brad I embrace, New York asshole Brad, can focus in on bowling Brad. And I don't know whether he's playing with me or we've lost him.
That sounds good to me.
All right. So, I mean, I think one of your more famous things, and we've lost him. So, let's laugh about That Ain't Brooklyn and response of Real Strikes. It looks like Brad's getting back in, so hopefully he's found his Wi-Fi. Hey, Brad.
All right, I'm back.
I hope you are. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's what I was saying. So we're going to embrace New York, Brad. So one of my favorite Brad moments, and that's why I've got my board up, That Ain't Brooklyn. I think everybody loves this. So, and if you don't love it, you're about to love it. So here we go. This was the last tournament of my first year on tour.
And another point, and you and I were talking about yesterday, what a great show of class by Jason Belmonte. A wonderful performer, an anguishing defeat, yet he comes back, talks live on air to you, handled it so well with Zysic's family as well. Just a good showing by both men. Here's Angelo, bottom of the sixth.
No chance.
No chance what?
Well, no chance to hit the right side of the headpin, but a strike's a strike, baby. Yeah, and you know what? You're going to get man. You throw a Brooklyn at him, and then you raise your arms. You know, all that does is it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. All you're going to do is really irritate Chris Barnes.
No, you really think that irritates Barnes?
Oh, trust me.
All right.
Randy's commentary throughout this is so great. And how naive Rob Stone is to what's going on. It's the best.
Angelo looking for strike number 5.
And gets it. Hey, parlay's a nice break right there, but you know, Rob, you talked about it. Chris Barnes on his last shot on the left lane came very close to fouling. Watch this. Boy, that's about as close as you can get without having the red light go out. So what does he do? He changes soul and heel. This is the first shot that he's going to throw, the brand new combination.
Were you nervous at this point, Chris, that you might go arse over
When was
breakfast?
the last time you saw somebody do that?
I have no idea. I'm guessing not. I didn't even check the approach.
That was fairly ballsy.
I wasn't close that time. So.
Hey, Chris, we just showed video of you making the shoe adjustment. What was the problem, and what did you solve?
What's that?
We just showed video of you making the shoe adjustment. What was the problem?
The approaches are just slicker today. It's about 15 degrees hotter, maybe.
What was the problem? This asshole on bowling just went Brooklyn.
It's not there now. So I just need to heal it. That's not real quicker.
And how did it work out for you? I know you got a strike, but did it feel good for you?
Yeah, so far so good. I didn't go Brooklyn. I guess it was all right.
Yes!
Got to bring up the Brooklyn. I know, Randy. I know. I can't believe you would question it. I'm smarter than you.
Nothing beats the salty beef and Barnzy show. Oh, dear.
Brad and I have a little history.
Oh, God. Brad's in and out.
Boom. And let me just say this. You know, Brad Angelo's not afraid to get in there and mix it up with you. He'll do it. But I told you, Chris, don't throw Brooklyn. Listen, you throw
This
Brooklyn
is so disappointing because, like I say, I was really looking forward to Brad responding
and
to
you
this.
move on. You certainly don't showboat and get in his grill.
He wasn't showboating and getting up in his grill. He put up his arms. He was excited.
Well,
he got a big break.
He kind of was showboating, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
Brooklyn against your opponent. No.
All right. All right. That's the protocol according to you.
That's the protocol. That's the PBA.
The unwritten rules.
I'm going to just quickly run this back, Brad, because
Don't throw Brooklyn. Listen, you throw Brooklyn at Chris Barnes, you put your head down, You act like you're disgusted and embarrassed, and you move on. You certainly don't showboat and get in his grill.
He wasn't showboating and getting up in his grill. He put up his arms. He was excited. He got a big break. You're not allowed to do that?
Not when you throw Brooklyn against your opponent. No.
That's the protocol according to you.
That's the protocol. That's the PBA protocol.
All right.
It sounded a lot like baseball's unwritten rules right there.
In his face, none of that.
Oh dear.
3 strikes in a row for Angelo.
That wasn't a Brooklyn shot there. Now. Boy, did I not just say that Brad's not afraid to mix it up?
The Italian coming out.
I'm telling you, I could watch this match every day. It's brilliant.
Brad and I had so many of these moments. The checking the serial number, like right now, Brad be getting ready. I'd go up and check the serial number on a ball in the best of 7 matches. And then if he missed, it would be like, really? You had to check it right then? And then we go eat afterwards. But
oh man, this sucks.
That wasn't Brooklyn either.
No, but it was terrible.
And he is talking smack to Barnes. Takes a seat, does Angelo. And what does Chris have in store for him in the ninth? Barnes working on a pair as well.
Hey, can you blame him? Guy just got called out for his Brooklyn, and now he's giving it right back. You know, good for him. Now,
I didn't hear the second one because I had that earpiece in. I didn't know he said anything there. I was looking down. Obviously, I heard the first one.
Barnes hasn't scored here.
But yeah, this was a drag up and down match here.
You know something's brewing inside of Barnes.
oh yeah. Well,
The problem is neither one can strike on the left lane very well.
No Brooklyns, that doesn't count. He'll say something to try to get into Brad's dome. Also, he needs to keep the pressure on.
Yeah.
Ball never recovered down the lane. You heard him say tighter, and it just never recovered down the lane.
Wow.
And it's probably over anyway. So.
Yeah. So that was that was definitely fun. Unfortunately, it appears that COVID is eating at Brad's internet connection. So you were talking about some of the best of 7s that you and Brad had. So was it a little bit like that on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Brad was part of it. He was part of way back. He was one of Martino's guys, and so they had their guys, and then we were Midwest guys, and so it started the high roller kind of thing. So there's like the West Coast contingent, and the Midwest guys had some backers, but nobody was really that loud. And the East Coast guys were always loud because they were always scared of us because we were better. But
is that how you?
This is my story, so I get to sell it however I want, right? And so the matches always kind of went like that. 1-game matches, there was no real rules, and so yeah, Brad did win the match, by the way. Yeah. Moving on. There was always stuff within the lines of fair play. Now, obviously, nothing while you're on the approach, but yeah, I mean, little back and forth, a little how you like that, you know, move the energy up and down, maybe a little directed jab one way or the other on a lucky shot, you know. I mean, Angelo, I would say Angelo, and that was basically just code for every lucky tumbler strike I ever saw more in the
So that was pretty much like for about the first 5 years I bowled on tour. Every time you heard a baby in the back cry, they're like, "Man, it's couch bowling this week."
Yeah, it's kind of like that, like a little tumbler 7. It just became, you know, he got pins to hit each other. That was his trip four. He wouldn't allow trip fours, but he get the little tumblers, and so that just became the Angelo thing. Kind of like rolling the 2-pin was Tommy.
Care to respond to any of this character assassination, Brad?
Well, I think we got some of the internet stuff worked out. My fingers are crossed, so I apologize in advance. But I got to tell you, that's exactly how it was back in the day. It was nothing to take your 2 re-racks if you just wanted to take your 2 re-racks. And even though you knew you wouldn't be granted a third, well, let me just call the tournament director over and see if he'll give me a third. Make the guy sit there a little bit longer.
Oh, I can't have it? What do you mean I can't have it? Oh, I can't. Oh, all right. Well, okay. I'll go ahead and bowl.
The really neat thing about that show that nobody really talks about is at the very end of that show, Vice had the big golf trip. And so after I had won the game, I went off and got another ball and made sure that I'm looking up into the monitor to make sure I could get the interchangeable thumb change in there so I could get more tickets in the drawing. That was in my forefront of my mind.
Yeah, because there was you got so many tickets for like winning games and then like making TV shows and the thumb changes. I know that was a big deal because I remember that PA for the longest time refused to have a thumb for his spare ball. He goes, if I'm not going to strike mop, at least I'm going to get a lot of tickets.
Yeah, exactly.
So every time he had to wait for his ball to come back and he'd take it out and he'd spin it back in. And I'm just like, oh my God, how can it be this important? But gotta get those tickets, mop.
And just to put the bookend on that exchange between Chris and I, that happened in Baltimore, and it was the last stop, as you had mentioned. And I was loading my car to drive home, cleaning off my shelf on the truck. And here comes Chris walking over to me, and he sticks his head into my car and says, "Are we good?" and I said, "Yes, we're good. We're always good, Chris. We've been friends a long time. Nothing like this is going to mess it up." So, but boy, I got to tell you, that was Easter Sunday. And when Chris made that real strikes comment, my whole family was over at my house having Easter dinner, and they had the TV turned up. And when Michelle heard him make that comment, she said, "Wait a minute, everybody quiet down. Brad's going to do something. I know he won't let that go."
Of course he is.
And Chris, I need to thank you because as soon as that was done, Michelle made That Ain't Brooklyn t-shirts, and I was selling That Ain't Brooklyn t-shirts at my bowling camp. So I made a few extra thousand on that exchange as well.
There we go.
And then the following year is when the Bottlegate thing happened with Belmo. And I was on the show, and I had a bunch of the kids from a camp that I teach there in Indiana. They all came over to watch the show. And one of the kids walked up to Chris Barnes and asked him to sign his That Ain't Brooklyn t-shirt.
Oh, dear. I love it. See, I'm all about us having more tournaments that have matches because I'm all about the animosity it creates. There's nothing better than when you drag your balls down for best of 7. You look at the other guy and go, "Get comfy."
Exactly. I mean, you know what? And it's all gamesmanship. And I think the vast majority of the guys on tour, we enjoy that part of it. And it's fun and it makes it interesting. And
I think maybe from our generation, Brad.
Listen, I mean, here's another fun fact about that whole episode as well. The night before that TV show between Chris and I ended up taking Chris to a barbecue joint that was featured on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. You remember that, Chris? We went to that.
That was like the 3rd time we've been that place that week, I think.
Yep. It was
and
right
it was
down the street from the bowl. So
you're in a good area when you can find a check cashing place, 2 check cashing places, and a strip club within eyesight of the front door. So.
I thought you were in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Oof. No, this was
and one of the neatest things in all of sports is when you get a chance to see the story that happens as it plays out on television, and then you get to hear all the behind the scenes story between the competitors as to how it led up to that and what was going on. Really that was one of the stories that you're right, that will everywhere still that I go, somebody will leave a Brooklyn or have a Brooklyn strike in the league and they'll call out, that ain't Brooklyn, and it's taken on its own its own meaning to so many people, and I was glad to be a part of it. And I
we have great fans in the show, and you've brought in a fair amount of your own with this one too. But guys, I'm looking forward to some Angelos tonight. The irony was when we bowled in league, we had another place in Wichita that was named Angelos, and so great Italian food. If you got hung 3 times in a row, you got Angelo'd. But it didn't mean what this means. It means you had to take the whole team to dinner at Angelo's. So.
I like
no idea Munson or anything. It wasn't that bad, but what was the other one? There's another one. Oh, there's East Coast guys scared. Doubt that. Yeah. Well, anybody that talks that much, you don't have to chirp when you're ahead. That's all I know.
Hey, I don't know. If it was this, what wasn't it? Any questions? You got any questions?
Yeah.
After it was all said and done, there wasn't nothing to say after that, was there?
Yeah. Once you won, you didn't have to say anything more.
You're right.
Yeah.
There's a song that they sing at the football stadiums in England when one of the teams is cheering and then they concede a goal, and it goes something along the lines of "It's all gone quiet over there." So here we go. We got another cool. You've got some quite cool moments in your career on TV, Brad. We've got the what I believe was your second title here against Mika.
Leisha there, the best times of bowling. She was one of our Team USA teammates back in the day.
I've got this one.
Yes, he does. Oh, what a great! I'm sorry, Lon. What a great shot and what a great match. Angelo must strike now in this 9th frame to cut the deficit to 2, set up the 10th frame for himself. Mika is in the 2 teens right now. Brad Angelo can get in the 2 teens with a strike here. Max score.
Gee, I'm just gonna flip this along a little.
For Brad Angelo, max score for
Uniemi keeping the pressure on.
Strike 9 spare in the 10th frame for Mika Koivuniemi, and he will shut out Brad Angelo.
His daughter Ida Koivuniemi drove in from Los Angeles to watch her father and her mother here, and now perhaps to see their man come away with another PBA title.
If Mika doesn't strike on this ball, Angelo can get up and close the deal in the 10th frame.
Left lane for Koivuniemi. He has struck 3 times on this side. He needs a action that gave him the ball he needed. That's the number he was looking for.
You got to think you're done here.
I did think I was done there.
Yeah, because that's the bad shot, and you got away with it. I mean, it's not bad, but that was. When you're begging when it's just past the arrows, you know it wasn't your best one.
Especially when your rev rate isn't 200 rev rate.
Yeah, it's not 500. They ain't making it very often.
Mika threw the shot, and then he started directing traffic.
His title number 10. Right in
Norm taught us all how to do that.
Mika Koivuniemi. PBA season. The 45-year-old needs 9 to clinch it.
Short row.
Oh, he didn't get it.
Don't go anywhere.
My first thought, as soon as that pin count, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking right there.
Shot.
My thought was,
And then he
you
comes
just gave the wrong guy a chance. That's exactly what went through my brain. You just gave the wrong guy a chance.
33. Brad Angelo would need a double and 9.
That's exactly what should be going through your head there, hopefully.
Yeah, these two shots were actually these are pretty good shots. Two of my better shots.
That's one. Lon, this is what you live for as a professional athlete. You live to.
I've had a couple of good ones on this right lane, too, to finish the match one time.
Have it in him.
Might have been on Viper, actually.
He needs to throw.
Ooh.
That was right down the pipe.
He was 10 back there.
I'm not going to call this one over yet.
I didn't even know what count I needed. I just told myself, all right, make another good shot. And I got a little bit slow on this one, and I'm like, oh.
It's well,
Now look over.
That's the minimum he needed.
Yeah. I had to look over at the score to make sure how many counted? Yeah.
Oh, Brad, that's the best. I personally think that, and I've said this to a lot of people, I feel like you're one of the most underrated players who's played on the tour while I've been out there, because you don't have a trick that means that you automatically get an advantage. You haven't got a really high rev rate. It's not like you can bowl super straight. Like, you haven't got, like Norm's got that voodoo trick where he can, the lane, it's like Machuga's dived on the lane and his ball just goes straight through it. Whereas the rest of it hits the lane and it's gone. But you're able to be competitive on everything. And I think with the fact that the exact phrase that you used there, where you were like, they gave the wrong guy the chance. Like, that's what I think separates you, Brad. Like, you genuinely believe that you're the best bowler there all the time. And believing that is way more important than it being right or wrong.
I really appreciate that, Stu. It's always nice to hear that coming from somebody that you respect as much as I respect you. I've always been.
Hang on a second. We got to clip that 33 minutes and 13 seconds. You're going to want play that back at some point.
I do. Truthfully, and it was heartfelt. I have to say, there's so much mutual respect. Whether you like somebody off the lanes or not is one thing, but so many of the people, we know who the guys are that are the scrappers and the clawers, and we all know the guys that are the conditional superstar for this period of time or that period of time. And I appreciate you saying that, and because I never really have always felt, well, let me say it this way, never did I feel that I was the best, but I always felt like in any situation that if there's somebody that needs to throw it for the strike, I want it to be me. Mm-hmm. And if it can't be me, there's a handful of other guys, but nope, I want to be in control of my own destiny. I don't want anybody else in control. And I've always felt like that there's no reason at all that given one shot that let's go. I can sack up just like the next guy. So, thank you, Stu. That means a lot. And as we enter the twilight of all of our careers, you never know when you're going to be able to feel that again. I felt very fortunate to be drafted last year in the PBA League, and I never practiced so much to be able to throw 4 shots in my entire life, and I told so many people, please watch. It might be my last time on television. I don't know. You don't know. You take so much for granted when you're on the way up to the top that when you realize that your best days are behind you, it's a humbling feeling. So, thank you for saying that, Stu.
No problem, Brad. Like I say, I'd be in the trenches with you anytime. It's like I say, there's a big difference between the guys who've been able to do it for a really long time and the guys who have like really short-term success. And regardless of your PBA career, both you and Chris had, you were making money long before you had PBA cards.
Yeah, we had some good runs, and that's
those
where the
mega
talking
buck
stuff
years.
went back and forth, and we had lots of matches where there was plenty of jawing going on back and forth, and it was all just part of the game. It's just kind of how amateur bowling worked back in the high roller days, and we carried that part out on tour, which a lot less guys were okay with or would even engage in. So it made our matches a little more entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, it was so fun. That was the draw back in the day. Those 2-game sprint sweepers at the high roller. Chris won back-to-back sweepers. He won 25,000 one day, goes, takes his shoes off, gets in the next day, 25 grand the next day, back-to-back. Those were dominant performances back in the day. Pat Healy was one of the guys, and then he went into the coaching international direction. But some of those names from back in the day.
Healy's not a fair shooter though, Brad.
What's that?
I said Pat Healy wasn't winning when you needed to shoot 403, making all the spares. He was only doing it with strikes.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I love Pat. I love watching Pat bowl. I think he's a fantastic bowler. But of any good bowler of all time, he has to be a top 2 worst spare shooter ever.
He's in that conversation, I'm afraid. So we have some great fans. This was actually really early on, and we kind of skipped over it. But good morning, Brad. Ask about Brad's emotion about AJ tripping the 2-pin for the win a few weeks ago with him and Sterner.
Oh, come on. Come on. We didn't even know we were leading that tournament going into the last game. They had an issue with their computer. They lost some scores. Something happened, and then they posted the standing sheet. We were in like the 7th frame of the last game, and Sterner and I were in the lead. And I'm like, okay, who's near us? Wow, well, AJ's right here. I got up in the 10th. I 4-7-9'd in the 10th. I'm like, oh man, well, this sucks. Well, let's see. All right, well, let's see. AJ needs a double to beat us, but it's AJ. He's usually pretty solid. Throws the first one perfect, and I'm like, son of a gun. And he throws the next one, and you would have thought that he was trying to shoot the 3-6-10 or something. That can't hook. And he just clipped the little sliver of that head pin, and sure enough, head pin here and right there for the 2-pin, and he does his like he expected the damn thing. I'm going, give me a break. We got to lose like that. And we're only talking about it's a couple $100 difference. It's not like it's for.
It wasn't like it's a TV show where somebody threw Brooklyn in the middle of a double.
Well, hey, I didn't go Brooklyn to win the damn roll to riches. How much did you win for your Brooklyn?
I run 10 on the one before it too, but you don't remember that. Yeah.
No, I only remember the one that you're working me over for, of course.
Yeah, that's right. Like the one before, I threw it, and at the arrows, I'm like, oh, that's so flush, and I sent the head pin right around the top of it. Then I made up for it this one.
So, Brad, maybe you can you can extrapolate on this a little bit. The fact is, if Robert was the guy who was shooting all the score, and AJ was the one who was shooting like 12-20, and he rolled the 2-pin, it would have been bad, but it would have been nowhere near as bad as the guy who's averaging 252.
Yeah,
right to beat you.
Yeah,
and then roll the 2-pin.
You feel me, Stu? You got it.
I was bowling the Sasper. We weren't really bowling for that much money. The guy goes Brooklyn, and I go, seriously? You're the one who's going Brooklyn? Well, other people go Brooklyn. They're shooting 203. You're shooting 279.
Yeah, you're supposed to know where it's going. Yes, exactly.
Didn't even know the guy either. Just calling him out for going Brooklyn. Making friends everywhere. Okay, well, we could go on about how we say things that we probably shouldn't do to other people, and they're not built the same as we're built and whatever else. But let's segue a little bit. let's have a chat about what the situation is with the bowling center. What's your latest update? What's the situation with COVID restrictions in New York?
Well, where do I start? It sucks. In our individual case here, Michelle and I, we had put a lot of money into our back area facility, cleared a lot of land, put in some volleyball courts, an outdoor patio, a big area where we could have cornhole, and then the plan was to have a couple bocce courts, and then build a nice big elevated stage to where we could have concerts, so that we had some revenue in the summer. And that was supposed to open May 1st, and that got put off and put off and put off. As of this moment, we are allowed to have the patio open. So we've been trying to build some revenue in the food side of things. But the problem is that here we're not really known as a restaurant, even though we have easily restaurant quality food. We make everything here. We season everything here. Everything's done here. It's just not a destination spot yet for our area. So trying to have that number of people that we would need to be profitable, to be able to drive around the back of our building, that's been a whole nother story. And it's all because of COVID. And then, as I said earlier, a couple of weeks ago, we found out we were allowed to reopen bowling centers here in New York, which, that seems to be good news by a lot of people. But the amount of losses, and then the amount of restrictions, we're allowed to have 50% capacity, which in the bowling business doesn't really affect many of us negatively, because the square footage of your facility is figured with the lane beds taken into account as well. Mm-hmm. So here in our center, we have 400 total capacity. So we're only allowed to operate half capacity, which is, okay, we still can have 200 people in here. And we don't ever have 200 people in here. So, that's not a restriction. But the biggest hurdle and the biggest restriction is we are only allowed to use every other lane, which that presents a huge number of challenges for all the league bowlers, the leagues, and everybody has to have their mask on 100% of the time. You can't pull it down while you're up on the approach. You can't take it off while you're up on the approach or wiping your ball off. You literally have to bowl with your mask on. And unless you're seated and eating and drinking, you can't even order a beer unless on that ticket to where you order the beer, you also order a meal. So you have to eat and drink at the same time.
Oh, so it's almost like Utah is, like, just regularly. Because like in Utah, there was a time when you couldn't drink certain alcohol unless you had food and all of that.
Well, that's kind of what's gone on. So as I said, we're continuing to have our league meetings. Many of the league bowlers, they are very understanding and they want to continue to support us. But, as well as I do, trying to make money in the bowling business has its challenges without COVID, not even related to any of these restrictions. And our Wednesday night league, we had 18 teams planned for our Wednesday night league. Well, we only have 24 lanes, so we can only use 12 of the lanes at a time. So how is that going to look? Well, now we just learned that 5 of those teams backed out. People in the league, they don't want to bowl with those guidelines, or they're concerned about contacting COVID, which, I get it. If you're at risk for contacting COVID or you have a loved one, it's certainly a serious enough disease going on to where, you should take some precaution. But the number of people around the country that are complaining or having issues about, well, I don't want to bowl if it's going to be that way. Please try to look at it from the proprietor's point of view. It hasn't been an easy go. We need you. We need you to help support being able to just stay open. None of the insurance payments have stopped. None of the mortgage payments have stopped. Heating and air conditioning, That hasn't stopped. It's lowered a little bit just because we haven't been able to be open, but you know, we still need to put money into the machines and those parts. It's not like they cut all of that in half or 50% capacity.
No, 100%.
So it's a difficult situation, and you know, Michelle runs the bowling center here, and she has been beside herself for the last few weeks as to, you know, and then on top of it, you have the employees that were getting their $600 payments, so they have a nice little nest egg built up, and many of them don't even want to come back to work. So we're dealing with that as well. It's far more challenges than we ever thought we were going to have to deal with, and my heart goes out to anybody that is in the same situation as us, because it's a tough one. This is really a tough one.
Some of the just like from Texas and some of the experiences that we had, and I don't know that that'll necessarily be the same with New York, but Texas opened very much in the same kind of way. It was actually 25% in Texas when they first opened. And as time went on, they had pretty good dialogue with the Texas Commission and whatever. And the restrictions have been able to be not necessarily taken out, but like manipulated a little bit. Like as they saw that, you know, there wasn't like, you know, oh my God, there's suddenly all 35 people who went to the bowling center have now got COVID. Well, when that wasn't happening, it kind of like, you know, the people who rode it out did quite, you know, it's actually starting to come back at a sensible rate now. I know that we're actually going to bowl tonight. We're bowling 5-man league, and we're using, they're using every pair, but it's only one team on a pair. So they've kind of relax that a little bit. So hopefully for you, you know, you can get some people back in the bowling center so you have at least enough of a sample size. And then that'll, you know, that's what we're all hoping for anyway, that at least you can then provide data to the powers that be that allow them to at least, you know, relax it a little bit. One positive that actually did come out of it, for the bowling center here, when they could only use every other lane, they only had to oil the lanes every other day because they'd oil all the lanes, and then you just use all the left lanes, and then the next day you'd use all the right lanes. So
yeah, I mean, I guess that's a silver lining.
I mean,
personally, I'd rather be filled and deal with it and be able to, you know, make sure that you're making your margins. The margins in the bowling business have been shrunk so much over the years. And costs continue to go up. More and more bowling centers close. We all know the story. And we, in our individual case, we just need our community to support what we're trying to do, support the back patio. So,
yeah,
but, you know, I mean, other than that, my fingers are crossed for a successful season. I'm hoping that we'll just do more special events and be able to make up some revenue that way. Because people are just itching to get out and you know, go do some fun activities. So I'm looking forward to that chance to be able to provide a whole nother avenue for people to go do something fun.
I personally have eaten more bowling alley food in the last 3 months than I've eaten probably in the last 15 years. There's got to be something that, you know, the players do or your customers do to give back. And the very least that you can do is try and support in any way you can, because obviously you guys aren't going to be bringing in as much revenue. And everybody eat once a week at Angelo Lanes. That's what we need.
That is what we need. That is, and I'm proud to say that Michelle has turned this from bowling alley food to restaurant food. She's done an amazing job. She's worked so hard.
And the place that I go to, Mel's, they have an excellent menu also. I think it's more of the people's schedule or whatever. Like, you just got to alter that mindset of when you go to the bowling center, try and factor in the time to eat at the center as well. Is kind of
you're exactly right.
It's not so much the bowling alley food. It's just the fact that, like, it's just a way to give back to the center. And, you know, we're in a situation where there aren't going to be, you know, not every bowling center is going to survive, that's for sure. And, you know, the ones that you want to go to all the time, if they're not there, where are you going to go? So think about the long run. That's for sure.
My old doubles partner, Tennille, jumping in, says the best thing that happened to Brad in a bowling center was meeting his wife, Michelle. So,
well, let me tell you what, I can second that, Tennille. You're 100% correct.
And you might want to take that too, because no one's ever said that to her either. So
I went down that escalator at Samstown, and there she was. Her father had just passed away, and Bob Markowitz had asked Michelle if she could come and help run the brackets at the Eliminator at Samstown. And I went over there to be able to bowl one of the squads of the Eliminator, and I asked her out to dinner. And 3 days later, when I flew home, I sat my mom and dad down and I told them, I said, I found her. And my mom was like, who'd you lose? And I said, I found the woman I want to marry. And she goes, well, where is she? And I said, well, she lives out in California. And so I'm proof that long distance relationships can work. You know, but it has its challenges. Like currently right now, we're awaiting daily updates from Michelle's mom. She moved up to Northern California, and she is literally right in the middle of the evacuation going on from all the fires up there. The firefighters have been to her door. She has a suitcase packed in her car. She could be evacuated at any moment. So it's, you know, it's tough. It's tough for Michelle not being able to jump in the car and be a part of, you know, birthdays and holidays and things that I think many people take for granted. Stu, you know how tough that is. You moved all the way over here from across the pond, and you know, it's a difficult thing when you don't have family support right down the street. You leave everything you know for somebody that you love, and she did that for me. So she is definitely the best thing that's ever happened to me because of bowling.
now you spoke about the restaurant food. She's turned things over there for you. Are you using your mom's spaghetti sauce?
You know, my
the
mom
best spaghetti sauce I've had anywhere. You want to talk about real Italian? This is the real deal here.
Yeah, it is the real deal. You got to cook it down. The day after sauce is always better than the day of sauce because it cooks down. Yeah, when Chris and I were on Team USA together, Chris came up and we bowled some tournaments up here. There were some big tournaments back in the day, and Chris stayed at my house. And whenever anybody came over, it was my mom had to have a whole spaghetti feast. And so, yeah, in fact, if I remember right, knowing my mom and dad, they probably sent you home with a frozen cool container full of spaghetti sauce, knowing them.
Yeah, I love sitting down with your dad, Nin, and then and your mom actually sent us some sauce at least at one point. Now the sauce that I make is based on a much more poor man's version.
I've eaten it, and you're right.
It wasn't that bad, Chris.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the best sauce I've ever had. It was amazing. So
that'll mean something to her, I can tell you. She probably is watching. She lives with all of these things.
And my wife, yeah, he's still trying to recreate that sauce.
Exactly. So. And you know, Tennille, to your point, I was there when the first family of bowling, Chris and Linda, started dating. That was on a trip in South Africa. And
funny you should bring that up.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. That's the truth. In fact, a few years ago, Chris had talked with me and asked if I could find some of those pictures from back in that trip of when he and Linda started dating. So yeah, I was there. I was part of that whole mess.
This is a Guy Kaminsky's place in South Africa at an indoor putt-putt. And there's Brad over here on the right, Vernon Peterson, you got Jerry Sikora, Chuck Pierce, and then half of Brian Graham.
So Brad.
Yeah, that was about.
York.
That looks like that's about 25 or 30 pounds ago.
For
Not
all
years
of
ago.
For all. I'm telling you.
I just wanted to comment on what were you wearing? You had like a wool sweater on while everybody else was just wearing t-shirts.
Oh yeah, but I'm telling you,
Throw that back up there. This whole thing here, that's pretty busy. I'm just saying.
Did your mom knit it for you?
no, that was one of the things I remember. I think I bought that at a structure back in the day.
Man, I
And,
hope
you know,
didn't pay
back then I always had my hair parted over on the side and feathered, and always carried the little black comb in my back pocket and had to make it all look all nice. And then I met Michelle, and then she says, no, we gotta change this up. So she makes me put goop in my hands, and then I just go and let it go. And that's what I do now. Done that now for almost 23 years now it's been.
So you got the goop in your hair, and Chris lost the mullet. Man, wives don't help.
The safari thing, there's one good story. Well, there were several good stories on that trip, but we did a safari. In South Africa, it's not like going through the San Diego Zoo. We're in these big, like, uncovered trucks. We're sitting in the back. You're going through. There's giraffe. There's a rhino. There's a half-eaten carcass on the side from where the lion fed on it the night before. And we're around these elephants. And then all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but Brad can tell the story. I tell you, he's a better storyteller than me, I think.
Well, we're on this safari, and we're all hanging out the sides of the windows. There's no windows. I mean, there is what used to be windows, but there's no glass in the window. So we're all hanging out and looking. All of a sudden, out of the weeds comes this elephant. So the guy driving the thing, he starts yelling at this elephant, and then this other elephant comes running up the street like it was going to charge the bus. And in the video that I have, you hear the guy, he starts yelling at the elephant, oi, 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 screaming at the elephant. And Chris, that's where you tried to mimic or interpret what the guy was saying in the video. And there we all are. We're actually scared to death. We're thinking that this elephant's going to charge this, because we all known that, you know, that was back at the time when the crocodile hunter was big on TV, and so you saw all these, you know, fantastic animal attacks back in the day, and sure enough, that guy, he got his big gun out and he was yelling at that elephant, and that elephant started charging our Partridge Family bus back in the day. And that's a true story. I was pretty scared. There was nowhere we could go.
The big one in front was something, and he had the big gun, and they told us they'd have to put one down if it charged us. But when I was looking over the side, we couldn't really see it over the side. We could hear it trumpeting over there, but it wasn't as big as the other one. So you're like, all right, and it's making noise and whatever. Well, now you look back, that was like the mama of the baby that evidently we were in their part. All I could see is trees start moving.
Yes.
First, and then it fell over. I'm like, holy crap, that wasn't like a really small tree either. And it kind of started, then another one, and then they started shaking, and they were coming closer and closer. And so was the sound. And that's where I remember is looking to my left and going, go, 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 go. And he's up there going, oi, oi, oi. Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, you know, it was very similar to one of the scenes in Jurassic Park, where the raptor or the Tyrannosaurus, whatever it was, the T-Rex sticks his head right out and comes like right. That's exactly what it looks like. That's exactly what this elephant looked like. Came right out. Trees were falling. It was crazy.
Josh, so Brad almost dies from an elephant. Sounds about right.
Oh dear. He also said, "Nice ugly sweater." That was before ugly sweater parties existed.
You know, I don't care. I was secure in who I was back then, and I don't care what anybody says. I would wear that sweater proudly. If I could get it over my head, I would wear that sweater again.
The trees were crunching.
Cal, please come on and direct.
Yeah, Lisa knows.
Yeah,
Lisa knows.
that was.
You know, that's still one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been to on this earth. When we were down in Cape Town, South Africa, we took an afternoon and we went on this little sightseeing thing out to the very, very tip of South Africa, the Cape of Good Hope. And you get out on the very cliff, at the very edge, and you look out into the ocean, and the currents of the Atlantic Ocean are slamming into the currents of the Indian Ocean, and you see this long line for miles of just these whales. Beautiful out there. I'll never forget that. We had to walk up this old rickety like wooden staircase way out there, feeling like, and then once you got out there, you got out to the top of the cliff. It was unbelievable. Still one of the most beautiful sights these eyes have ever seen.
Oh well, we've managed to go down memory lane all the way to just over an hour, Brad.
You got to tilt your head when you have memories like that, Stu. Yeah.
So I think that we should twist this over to the 10 questions with Angelo.
All right, I'm up for it. So everybody knows I have no idea what I'm about to endure. I haven't been made aware of any questions, so these will be off the cuff.
They're just rapid fire.
All right, let's do it.
So far, the only person who's really grasped the concept of this was Ray. He literally was like 2-word answers, bang, bang, bang. Everybody else
I'll
is
try
like,
to do it.
oof, I don't know. So let's go.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Let's see. Let's just start off with one. This is always a good one. What do you do that embarrasses your kids?
Cry.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. Best trash talker, including back in the amateur days.
Rudy Kazamakis.
That's a good one. Best and worst roommate.
Me.
Are you both?
Yeah, I think I can be a good roommate, and I think I can be a crappy one. Best roommate, gosh, I've had a lot of them. That's a skip.
Thomas clearly can't be too bad. He never says anything to upset anybody.
Yeah, I don't think Thomas makes the bad list.
We go at it sometimes, though. Believe it or not, he comes out of his shell. You know, he's got a pair. He could live on the East Coast.
We were hoping he was going to bring that side out of him on Chris at the Weber Cup.
I haven't seen it yet, so yeah, it's probably due for an appearance. That wasn't Brooklyn. There we go. What is something that no one knows about you?
So many things come to mind. I'm trying to keep it quick. I like to think I have a very strong faith, even though it probably don't show it as often as I should. I cry a whole lot. I can cry at anything. And people mean more to me than I could ever express. I think, you know, those sorts of things for me. Rick Benoit calls it passion. He says to me, forgive this long answer, but Rick says to me, you know, Brad, I don't know that I've ever met anybody quite as passionate as you. And I think a lot of people misconstrue that passion as being a little fake at times, but it's not. It's authentic. I struggle so hard for people to really know me that I think I screw it up, you know? So I think that'd be something that most people don't know too much about.
I've never thought of you as fake, Brad.
Good. Thank you.
Not at all. That wouldn't be a word.
lighten it up a little bit. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
Huh. Aside from talking Michelle into moving all the way across the country, bowling related, I think probably my fortunate enough working together with the other 9 guys and building the pattern at the Nationals to be able to accomplish winning the all events title. I'm pretty proud of that. And the other one would be leading the points on the PBA Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Both very solid, for sure. If you could write a letter to your younger self, what would it say? This one's not so rapid fire, I get it, but
Yeah, my earlier self. Try to be a little softer. Just try to be a little softer.
Gosh, I don't know if you have any, but any superstitions?
No, I don't think I do. Not that I know of.
You not got the PA parking spot?
No. No, I mean, as far as parking spots, if I see somebody's car running that's closer, I'll sit in my car and wait till their car pulls out just to pull up 2 more spots. So I don't have to walk as far.
Oh, you're one of those.
The most you've gambled on one hand and the most you've gambled on one game?
Well, I think the only game that I've ever really bet is like the Super Bowl or the World Series. So maybe $100.
No, I meant bowling.
Most I've gambled on one hand.
Yeah.
Like a blackjack?
Sure.
Oh gosh, I think I've had probably 700 or 800 out there at a time. But that was because of splits and double downs. You know, you got a split and then you got a double down, so you got it all out there.
Okay. Michelle knows that you like to gamble.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm not looking for excuses here. I'm just, it just is what it is.
I think I won that hand.
Okay. Of course you did. Everybody wins.
Listen, I'm just trying to get back to even for life. That's all. That's all I'm trying to do.
So what's your biggest action match?
You know, I never really bowled much action. Really, back in the day, it was big at the Super Hoinky were the big action matches back in the day. And I was more in the back having the fun with it. Watching Mike Newman bowl against Bob Vestby for, 1,000, 2,000. I think it got up to probably 3,000 or 4,000 for the game. I also remember driving when we were bowling out on Long Island. We would drive over to the Bronx and watch Chris Barnes bowl action down in the dungeon of Van Nest Lanes over there, bowling for 1,000 a man or 2,000 a man a game, stuff like that. But I was never really a part of the big action type matches. I think I maybe only bowled action maybe for 100 or 200 a game. It was never really that big. I was more into watching.
That surprises me. I know you're not afraid to bowl any of those, but yeah. All right. Well, this is one Stu particularly likes, and it's been a favor on this show. So one shot you would like back.
Gosh,
You're breaking the trend.
I don't know. I don't know what the trend is. One shot I would like.
This is why Brad's the most confident guy on tour right here. So
like, for example, like Norm Duke could still remember in like
1989 Masters against Mike Edwards in the semifinal match.
Yeah, like just bang. It's still like etched in his mind. So
it's nobody has ever asked me that question, and I have to tell you, I'm learning about myself by not having an answer. I don't know that I can really think of one.
I'm happy for you is all I can say.
Well, I almost have 10 shots you'd like back with you.
My hesitation is just like, which one am I going to pick?
Yeah, but see, the thing is that, you know, I've learned from Rick through the years that you have to be committed. You don't have to be right or wrong, but you have to be committed. And I try so hard to be committed every time that I step up on that approach, to the point that it's mentally exhausting. And if it doesn't work out, so many times I'll walk away and thinking, you know what, I was committed. That's all I had to do. But as I'm thinking about this now, I would say that I wish that I could have stopped when Belmo cracked the bottle. I want that shot back.
Okay. There you go.
There we go. And that's 10 frames with the bro.
But Belmo and I have buried that hatchet. That's well in the past, but still, I remember. I'll never forget that. But it happened, and Belmo's been great for our sport. So I'll try to clean up the mess I just created by saying Belmo's done a great job for our sport.
Here we go.
All right. Well, that was Brad Angelo. Any parting words, Brad?
Just thank you guys. You guys have done a great job with this show. It's you really do. And thanks for allowing me to be on. Chris, I've been watching you and Linda as your kids are going off to college, and I think, you know, where did the time go? And as we speak, my daughter Brielle, she's going to get her senior portrait done. You know, I was fortunate enough to be able to go golfing. My son asked me to go golfing with him yesterday, so I went golfing with him yesterday, and it's like, where did all this time go? You know, so I watch how all of us have evolved, and I think back to so many memories of this career that we chose, and there's really not much I would change. I other than I just wish it could have been more financially rewarding for all of us. We've given our lives to this sport, and in a lot of ways, it's been a love affair that hasn't reciprocated that. But thank you. Thanks for the job that you guys are doing, and this show, in my opinion, is one of the best that's out there. There's two or three that are pretty good. I think our Wednesdays with Brad and Josh, we try to do a little different deal and throw balls down the lane. So, you know, we're going to start that again next week.
How can people find that?
They can go to the 10 in the Pit Pro Shop Facebook page, 10 in the Pit Pro Shop here at Brad Angelo Lanes, and we'll be starting that again. That'll be Wednesdays at noon, noon Eastern. And yeah, I just talk a lot and throw shots down the lane and do a little bowl you teaching and all that sort of stuff. So it's a little different. But I think it's pretty informative. So
yeah,
I look forward to getting that started again.
Sure. Okay, Brad. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.